Welcome back to our flight from San Diego to Seattle with a Boeing 737-800 of Alaska Airlines. We have now a little bit more than 200 nautical miles left until we reach our destination, the airport Seattle-Tacoma International, and in a little bit more than 100 nautical miles we will start our descent towards our destination. There in now 104, now 103 nautical miles, there is our top of descent. Then we start our descent towards the airport Seattle-Tacoma International. You can already see the top of descent here in the ND. It's right before the waypoint Bravo Tango Golf, where we should be at flight level 240 or above, which should be possible when we start our descent first shortly before this waypoint. And we are actually at the moment at flight level 360, so there's a difference between between these two flight levels is 12,000 feet, so there should be no problem to be above flight level 240 at Bravo Tango Golf. Now we can have a look from the bird perspective here, and as you can see, we can already see Seattle here from the bird perspective. It's located here, and there is the airport Seattle-Tacoma International, our destination of our flight today. So, and I would say we can now already start preparing our descent. We have to do some things before we can start our descent, and the first thing we need to do is to set our altitude we want to descend to here in the MCP. And I would say 3,000 feet is a very good altitude to descend to here for an approach at Seattle. I don't know the exact altitude of the airport Seattle, but I think it's nearly 0 feet. It's very close to the ocean, so I think the airport is nearly located at 0 feet, maybe 100 feet above, at 100 feet or so, but not very high. So 3,000 feet should be a good altitude to descend to. Oh, what's happening now? Oh no, everything's alright again. Perfect. So we can also have a look now at our approach speed. So we go here to init reference, and here we have our approach reference page. Today in Seattle we do an ILS approach. Here we have the ILS frequency and the course. We will put this in the systems of the aircraft later. The runway 34 left has a length of 8,500 feet or 2.5 kilometers. So it's a very long runway. It should be long enough to land on. And we will land with flaps 30 there, so our approach speed is 141 knots. I think it will not change a lot until we reach the airport Seattle-Tacoma, because the aircraft will not get much lighter until we are at the airport Seattle-Tacoma. Maybe it will be 1 knot less, but 140 knots will be maybe then the approach speed. But we have to add 5 knots of wind correction then, so 145, 146 will be the approach speed then for the approach for the landing in Seattle today. So this is finished. Then the next step is to set the minimums for the approach. We will use radio minimums, and I think we can set the minimums to 200 feet. It's a good minimum altitude. I don't know what altitude decision height in reality is used at Seattle-Tacoma for the ILS approach. Runway 34 left, maybe it's lower, but yeah, let's use 200 feet for the minimums. And then we can also set the auto brakes. We will use auto brakes 2 for landing today. This should be a perfect choice. It's medium, so this should be good. We are getting closer to our top of descent. On the progress page we can see that we only have 40 nautical miles left until we reach the top of descent, and then the aircraft should automatically start to descend towards Seattle-Tacoma International. And here you already can see the approach. We will fly then a little bit to the right and then turn left towards runway 34 left. And when we are between 30 and 40 nautical miles away from the airport, we should be able to contact the tower, but we will see then. So there we start our descent towards 3,000 feet. We are leaving now the cruising altitude, and we can type in the or before we type in the ILS frequency, we now do the descent checklist, as we are now starting our descent. Maybe we can do the simulation rate to 2 times faster than real time. So, descent checklist, pressurization, landing altitude. Yeah, I would say... oh, there is a landing altitude typed in now. It's 400 feet. Yeah, maybe the airport is at 400 feet. I didn't put in here anything. It's what's set there automatically, or was it at the beginning already at 400 feet? I don't know, but maybe let's set it to 0 or 50 feet. Something about this around that should be the altitude of the airport. I don't think that it is at 400 feet, but we will see it then when we are at the airport Seattle-Tacoma International. So we can check recall. It's checked, everything is fine. The auto brake are set to 2. VREF is 141. I don't think that it will change. Maybe 1 knot less, but not much. And minimums is 200 feet. Approach briefing, yeah, let's say the approach briefing is completed. So now we can put in the ILS frequency here. So it's 110.75. And this comes from standby to the active frequency. And here in the MCP on both sides we put in the course of 343 for the ILS. So great, perfect. And let's have a look on our altitude now. We are now passing flight level 250, descending 3,000 feet. Passing waypoint Pitera, and there we should be at flight level 220 or above. And as you can see here, shown by this arrow, we are at a perfect altitude here at the moment at our descent. We are not too high and not too low. We are on a perfect descent path at the moment. That's great. The aircraft is at the moment at 290 knots, but as we are then getting closer to 10,000 feet, to pass 10,000 feet we need to be at 250 knots or slower, because below 10,000 feet we are not allowed to fly faster than 250 knots. And there at this point decel, I think the aircraft will then start to slow down towards our approach speed. Yeah, perfect. So we're descending at the moment with 2,100 feet per second, not per second, per minute. And we have enough fuel left, and when we reach Kilo Sierra Echo Alpha we have 7.5 lbs, 7,500 lbs we will have left when we are at Seattle-Tacoma International, so we do not use our reserves fuel today, which is perfect. Great, so while we are now descending, maybe we can make a normal simulation rate so that we fly with real time. I also want to talk today shortly about the livery of this aircraft, because today the aircraft, the Boeing 737-800, is painted here in the new livery of Alaska Airlines, a very, very nice and great livery, I think. I like this livery very much. Alaska Airlines uses this livery since the beginning of 2016, so since the beginning of this year. I think in January or February, but no, I think in January they announced their new livery. They showed their new livery, and I think this new livery looks much better than the old livery of Alaska Airlines. I like this new livery very much. How Alaska is written here, it's very nice. The way it's written here, and also here on the engines and the winglets, and especially here in the back of the aircraft, the tail is painted very, very nice with these colors. I like it very much. The colors which are used here. It's a very modern and very nice paint. I like this livery very much. It's great. It looks very nice on this aircraft, and yeah, I think it fits very good on this aircraft and looks very modern and nice. And I also would like to know what's your opinion of this livery. Do you like this livery or don't you like this livery? Do you think the old livery was much better, or do you think the new livery is better? I would like to hear your opinion on this livery in the comments, so please write your opinion on this livery? What do you think about this livery? Write it please in the comments. I'm very interested what you think about the new livery of Alaska Airlines. In my opinion, it's a very great livery. I like it very much, and especially on the Boeing 737-800, it looks very nice. So let's have a look here on our altitude. We are now passing flight level 140. We need to set the altimeters to the actual altimeter setting. We have 3004 at are the altimeters here at the moment. And yeah, I hope that we can land on runway 34 left, but before this flight I had a look. I looked up the weather forecast for Seattle, for the weather at Seattle-Tacoma International, and due to the winds it should be, if the wind doesn't change, we will land on runway 34, and hopefully on runway 34 left. It could also be 34 center or 34 right, but 34 right is always used, I think, for takeoff, and 34 center could maybe be also then used for landing, but maybe we can change then to runway 34 left. But hopefully we will directly get runway 34 left from the ATC. So we now slow down to 270 knots, and I would say let's use these speed brakes. We can extend them as far as possible. As far as possible during flight. We can have a look here. You can see now they are extended as far as possible, as it is possible during flight, so that we can slow down a little bit faster, so that we can reach this speed a little bit faster. Here it also says now drag required, and also always when there's the message drag required, you need to extend the after food drag required there. Alright, always when it says drag required, you need to extend the speed brakes so that the aircraft then can remain on the vertical speed and can continue the descent, so that it does not get too fast. So we need drag then after food, which is the waypoint after the next one, after linear, and there we should be below flight level 120 and above 10,000 feet, but at the moment we are between 10,000 and 12,000 feet, so everything looks fine. Great, and I hope we will have a nice landing today and a nice approach here in Seattle, but the approach at the moment looks very good, and I hope that landing will be good as well then at Seattle-Tacoma International. There are also some other aircrafts here right around us. There's another one there descending, which is, it's a little bit above us, and there's another aircraft not here on the TCAS because it's too far away from us. It's 8,000 feet below us. Another aircraft down there. So now the aircraft wants to reduce to 250 knots, and we extend the speed brakes again so that we can then descend below 10,000 feet, and now we turn on the landing lights, I would say. So landing lights turned on, and now reduced to 240 knots. So there we can already see the where it says up, and when we are slower than where it here says up in the PFD, we can start extending our flaps first to position 1, then we are when there it says 1, we can extend the flaps to position 2, and so on until we set the flaps to position 30. So next waypoint goals at 8,000 or above. This should be possible. We are now descending through 9,500. Drag required. Yeah, we have the speed brakes already extended, and we can do the approach checklist. So approach checklist, altimeter set 3004, cross check, and maybe we can already contact the tower of Seattle-Tacoma International. We are now 30 nautical miles away from the airport. Oh, this other aircraft lands on this airport down there. So that's why it was so low, or at so low altitude already. So we have a list here of a lot of airports, but I can't find Seattle-Tacoma International. Let's stay on the last page of this, and there Seattle-Tacoma International should appear soon, because there in the anywhere there it should be. Yeah, there it is. There it is. There you can see the airport. There it is, the airport Seattle-Tacoma International. For the ILS approach, we already programmed everything that's needed. The ILS frequency is set in here, 10110.75, and we have the course also there. So here we now can see, or maybe let's close this window again. Here we can see now the distance, and we are away from the airport, from the threshold of runway 34 left, how far we are away from the ILS or threshold from the ILS 34 left. Now about a little bit more than 24 nautical miles. We're perfectly descending, as you can see, like what the arrow shows here. It's right here, and when it's at this position, we know that we are on a perfect descent path, so that the aircraft wants to be at this point of our flight route at this altitude. That's perfect. So always when we fly through decel, the aircraft reduces the speed a little bit, now to 230 knots. Maybe we can put the speed brakes back in, or doesn't it reduce the speed there? No, we need the speed brakes, otherwise the aircraft won't slow down. So now we should be able to contact Seattle-Tacoma International. Yeah, there it is, listed here. So let's first listen to the ATIs to get the weather information of the airport Seattle-Tacoma International, how the weather is there. So wind is 280 at 7, but we should land at 34 left. Should be able to land at 34 left. Oh no. FSX crashed. No. Yeah, sadly FSX crashed, but now we can continue our approach, and let's again listen to the ATIs of Seattle-Tacoma International. So where is it? There is Seattle-Tacoma International, and let's first listen to the ATIs, and then we can contact the ground, or the tower, so not the ground. Yeah, it looks good that runway 34 should be the active runway. Yeah. Runway 34 right, 34 center, and 34 left are in use. Perfect. Are the active runways. So we can set the flaps to 1 now. So we have Juliet, and now we can contact the tower of Seattle-Tacoma International and request landing. We are 17 nautical miles away from the airport now. And runway 34 left, perfect. That is also the runway we want to land on. That's nice that they gave us runway 34 left. So we continue approach to runway 34 left, Alaska 481. So, and we decel, slow down, and we can already activate approach, I would say, so that the ILS and glide slope are armed, and as you can see, the localizer is already captured and the glide slope is armed now and should be captured soon.